That down. Let's move on to this, shall we? You can't have a movie business without the movie theaters, and the biggest movie theater chain in the world, AMC Theatres, just did their big financial call and report. And not as a big surprise to everybody, the first quarter of 2025 has not been good. Everything's down from revenue to attendance and whatnot. The folks over at Reuters wrote the following. AMC Entertainment posts lower revenue over decrease in theater attendance. They said this, AMC Entertainment on Wednesday reported a 9.3% fall in first quarter revenue as fewer blockbusters released from Hollywood studios led to reduced attendance at its movie theaters. Shares of the Leawood, Kansas-based company fell around 2% in extended trading. All right. Look, it's not a surprise to hear that the revenue and everything at AMC is down, that attendance is down. And I thought we would take a minute to maybe look a little bit at some of the causes, but more importantly, let's be positive. I wanted to look at some of the solutions that not just for AMC Theatres, because I think you're going to find a lot of the theater chains are going to be struggling with this, but for AMC Theatres specifically, but really all movie theaters in general, but what I think they need to be able to do in order to increase their revenue and get the attendance back up from what it was a couple of years ago. And I would start by jumping into the Campea classroom. And we're going to talk about things about fixing AMC problems. But before we do, we have to acknowledge, let me read this off. First, we must acknowledge that there are a couple of factors in these struggles that are outside of AMC's control that they can't do anything about and isn't their fault. Number one, the lack of big successful movies in the first quarter. I mean, you had movies like Captain America, you had movies like Snow White, but obviously those didn't do well, and that's not exactly AMC's fault. So that's one of the things that has led to them having this problem that's not really their fault. All right. Another thing that you got to keep in mind is that the current economic climate has people spending less money right now. You can just see in the news that the consumer confidence index is not near an all-time low. As everybody is completely uncertain about the economy right now, things with tariffs and spending and inflation and talks of recession and all this kind of stuff, the consumer confidence index is near an all-time low. That means that people are being a little more tight about their discretionary money. They're not spending their money as freely as they would. And one of the first things to go when you're spending less money is entertainment. I mean, that's one of the first things that seems to go when they get to that. All right. So I think those are two things that are absolutely completely outside of AMC's. It's not their fault that happened. It's definitely a couple of the factors leading to their struggles. Not the only ones, but there are a couple of them, and there's really nothing they can do about that. So I just thought it was important that we first acknowledge that before we start dealing with the things they can impact and then they can have something to do with. All right. The first thing that I would want to take a look at here is what can they do? Number one, actually, let me redo that. There we go. What can they do? And I don't know why my things are not big enough. Hold on a second here. Yeah. Why can't I get this? There we go. What can they do? I need to get big enough so you guys can read it. Number one, studios. This involves studios working with theaters. Studios have to stop taking a higher and higher percentage of the box office. The more the studios take, the more the theaters have to charge for tickets. Look, it's not rocket science. Every year, the studios renegotiate with the theaters and keep bigger and bigger chunks of the box office revenue. And hey, they're the studios. They should get the lion's share of the box office. Nobody's saying they shouldn't. But they're constantly going back and demanding more. The problem for movie theaters, like AMC, is that once studios take more and more of the movie ticket money, that leaves the theaters with no choice but to kind of increase the ticket prices to make up for that loss that the studios take. One of the solutions here, not the only solution, but one of the solutions here is that the studios have to partner with movie theaters to say, look, we got to put a lock on this. Like, studios got to understand they will make more money if the movie theaters sell more tickets. So, hey, studios, instead of trying to make more money by gouging more from the movie theaters, Why don't you help the movie theaters sell more tickets and not have to raise their prices? So that's one of the things that I would say is something they need to look at. The next thing that I think movie theaters like AMC Theatres need to do is they need to put on freeze. Now, this is connected to point one, but they need to put a freeze on price increases and get more creative with special pricing. For example, $5 Tuesdays, $5 pre-1 p.m. screenings, maybe a 2-for-1 deal on the first day of the month, where if you buy a movie ticket, you get to stay for another movie. What I mean by that is, and this is just a proposal, like say on the first of each month, if you come and see like a 6 p.m. movie, then by buying that ticket, you're entitled to stay in the movie theater and go check out an 8:30 movie. There's obviously some details and some logistics that would have to be worked out, but the basic premise is this. They've shown that when movie theaters engage in these special ticketing discounts and prices events, they get good results. They really do. Like their numbers have shown, like a lot of the movie theaters released that report a while ago, Rob, showing that their like half price Tuesdays or whatever have been really successful in drastically increasing the amount of attendance coming out on a Tuesday, which is not normally a big movie attendance day. But I think movie theaters need to get involved more in finding these special gimmicks that offer special discount and special prices, particularly on days that they're not normally making a lot of money anyway. Because the main thing is you want to get more and more people back into the habit of going to the movies. That's the key. Like, here's an example, Rob. Ann and I like bowling, right?
I do too.
And so we'll go bowling and we'll love it. And we're both terrible. Actually, Ann's much better than me. I'm a terrible bowler. Make no mistake about it. I'm not going to give any representations to the counter, but we go bowling, we have a great time, and then all of a sudden we just fall out of the habit of going. And then like 6 months later, we go bowling. We're like, why have we not come bowling? I don't know. Habit is a real thing. And you've got to do things as an industry, as a movie theater industry, to help get people back into the habit of coming out to the theaters. One of the best ways to do that, as already statistically shown, is by these special little pricing events you do, whether it's Tuesdays, early matinees, bonus screenings, whatever you can do to get people back into the habit of going to the movies, I think would be important. All right. Another thing that I think theaters like AMC need to do is they need to increase discounts on concession stand combo prices. Now, notice that I'm not saying they need to discount concessions. The unfortunate reality of movie theaters is because the studios take so much of the movie ticket money, the primary revenue source for movie theaters is and has always been the concession stand. That's how they pay their employees. That's how they pay their rent. That's how they keep the lights on, is concession stands. So I'm not trying to be unrealistic and say, cut your prices in half, which I would love it if they did, but then they'd go out of business. But maybe at least freeze those prices, but increase incentive by having better combo prices. Now, look, if I go to my AMC theater, I can buy a soda and I can buy a popcorn, or they'll have a combo. If I buy a popcorn and 2 sodas, I'll save like $1. Well, why not get a little bit more aggressive with your combo deals? Like, so if I want to go and take a date, or if I want to go and take a family or whatever, why not set it up so that, like, hey, if you spend over $25, you get an automatic 5% or 10% discount. That's $5 right there. And it doesn't hurt you as the movie theater as much because you're moving higher quantity of stuff. Things, if you buy 3 sodas, you get the 4th one free, or whatever. Experiment, play around with it. I'm glad that movie theaters already do combo discounts, but I think they can do better. I think they can do better, and I think they should do better. And I think if they do, they'll end up making a little bit more money. This one will come as no surprise to you guys. Of one of the things I think they need to do to increase revenue and get people back into the movie theater since their attendance is falling. Start your movies when you say the movie starts. I mean, I won't go into my whole diatribe again about the dastardly evil of 30 minutes of trailers, but start movies closer to their advertised start times. Or, I've been saying for a long time, this is a simple fix to everything. Actually, why don't you advertise when the movie actually starts? Like, say, the showtime is 7 p.m. That's when trailers and whatever starts. Film starts at 7:25. You know, Rob, I was saying recently that I started noticing that on some of the sports tickets I would buy. Like on some sports tickets I would buy, it's like game time, 4 p.m., kickoff, 4:07. Like it would actually say that, right? It would actually give me that information. Why not? Like, because listen, if you're trying, you are selling an experience, right? Movies are experiential events. You're selling an experience to people. Come and have this experience. When you start off somebody's evening with 25 minutes of commercials that they did not pay to sit there to watch, you are immediately giving them a negative experience.
Yeah.
So I just think the whole idea, and again, the whole thing about we'll just go 15 minutes late. Well, the problem is movie theaters like AMC aren't consistent. So sometimes they start a movie 10 minutes late. Sometimes they start at 30 minutes late. So you can't even guess where you're going. So I think just either adopt the old Arcite 3 trailers in a movie rule and be consistent, or advertise to the consumer what time the movie actually starts. Showtime at 8, movie begins 7:21 or something like that. I think that would go a long way. Anyway, Rob, everything I'm just trying to bring up here is like these little things that I think would enhance and better the movie theater goers experience, which I think will attract them to come back more often, which will raise revenue, which would be good for everybody. Anyway, Rob, when you see this report that's come out now that AMC's, their revenues dropped by 10% from the first quarter of last year, attendance is down again. There are external factors, the economy, not such great movies came out in the last 4 months. What do you think about that? And then what? Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Hungryroot. Okay, so I'm sure you guys can all relate to this. Spring hits and suddenly life goes from like 0 to 100. Busy season is officially in full swing over here. And honestly, who's got time to go grocery shopping? That's where Hungryroot comes in. See, because Hungryroot is like having your own personal shopper. I told them my goals and they started curating groceries for me that actually fit my life. Be it smoothies, snacks, salad kits, even ready to eat meals. All clean ingredients, no artificial junk. This week, I got the grilled turkey tenderloin with pesto grilled veggies, and it was amazing. And I got my usual protein-packed snacks. It's like they're learning my taste better than I even know myself. And the best part is, I don't have to waste time driving to the grocery store and wandering the aisles. That's time I can spend doing literally absolutely anything else. Guys, I love Hungryroot. Take advantage of this exclusive offer. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box, plus get a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/Campea and use the code Campea. That's hungryroot.com/Campea, code Campea to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/Campea, code Campea. What would be some of your recommendations maybe to the movie theater industry to get people coming back more?
Well, I think all of your ideas are great ideas. And I think really you nailed it. You've always said movies are experiential events. The problem with showing a bunch of commercials in a movie theater is commercials don't belong in a movie theater. Commercials belong on television. They belong on the internet. They belong elsewhere. And when you do that, you diminish the experience of being in a movie theater. You're immediately telling your audience that this place is not special. It's like everywhere else you're going to go. You're going to see commercials for laundry detergent or something. And it's like, that doesn't belong in theaters. That's why going to the Arclight, which was a chain here in LA, we knew that they would show 3 trailers, and they made sure that the trailers were relatively related in tone or subject matter to the movie that you were going to see. So it all enhanced, it made it all part of the experience. Like you could anticipate that experience and know that, ooh, I wonder what I'm going to see today and how is it going to relate to what I'm going to go to or what I'm about to watch. And I think another thing, I mean, all this, the things you had about concessions, look, I really like the more luxurious seating that we have. I like the fact that you can buy a glass of wine. I like the fact that better concessions, the Arclight also had, they had They didn't have a lot of choices, but they had things like those apple sausage um, hot dogs or which were really, really good, and they were consistently good. Wasn't so much, nachos and things like that, but it was great food that was easily consumable. It wasn't messy, and I think a lot of that is what you need to do. I mean, anything the key is, first of all, to make sure that the movie itself is presented. Too often do I see movies that the bulbs look too dim, the sound is not balanced correctly. You need to make sure that the presentation of films is first and foremost what the audience is getting. And seeing Ryan Coogler and Kodak releasing a video about the formatting, IMAX is becoming increasingly more important as movies move forward because of the presentation that you get. Like, no one's going to go see Avatar really, to go to an IMAX movie or IMAX screen to see that. Christopher Nolan does the same thing because they are leaning into the experience of it all. And I think that should be the defining, moving forward, the defining thing about movie theaters and the experience of going is make sure that every part of that event is somewhat special. Don't make it mundane. Movie theaters should be special. And whatever you can do there's so many different things you could do, but to make that experience special is what you should do. I mean, the theater that the Harkins Mountain Grove 16 that's near me has you go in there, it's a nice place.
Yeah.
The bar is nice. It has a big giant concession stand. Even walking into each theater, the signs above the screening rooms with the name of the movie, you feel like you're in a place that's upscale, if that makes any sense. And I feel that same way about like the AMC 16. I mean, the opening when you first walk in there, it gets a little crowded at the refreshment stand, which I understand, but at least you have an experience like walking into that Dolby Cinema. You're walking down and it feels like you're in a ride in Disneyland. It feels, oh, it's special, and just because they have the giant Dolby logo on the wall and the way the light is when you walk down the corridor to go into the actual venue, into the screening room. I mean, that's what you have to do. You have to make people think that as soon as they walk into a movie theater, that they're leaving their real life behind and they're going to be taken away somewhere.
I remember there's a theater, I've talked about it before on the show. There's a theater, it's a small chain, and I think they're across the country in Pasadena called iPick. I think
Yep.
I've talked. I'll tell you, Rob, it was exactly like what you were just describing, right? You'd walk in, there's a well-dressed usher there, took your ticket, you went in, and when you walk into the lobby, it feels more like you were walked into a Ron Burgundy with old leather books. Like there was carpet, nice leather furniture around and a pool table. And it felt like you were in a speakeasy. And then with these doors that went into their various theaters, and then you go in. Again, it's like, look, for half the cost of upgrading one of your screens, you can turn all you need is a good designer. You can turn your lobbies into something really, really special without having to spend too much money. And again, just everything like you're saying to increase the overall experience of going to the movies. If you have a great time from the moment you walk in the door, like not just from the moment when the movie starts,
Right.
but from the moment you walk in the door, you are more likely to come back again.
Well, that's why I love the Hollywood Arclight where the Cinerama was.
Yeah.
You
Before
walk
the
in, they had-
pandemic put them out of business.
Yeah, and they had the gigantic, it almost looked like a Times Square train station sign that had the big clock in the middle and all the different show times and the times. And
It
then
was fabulous.
the restaurant they had there had a fixed menu, but it was consistently good. I love their bolognese they had there, and they had a great bar. Like, I sometimes would go to the Arclight and just hang out at the bar because I knew I would run into somebody I knew. Eventually, just you could hang out there all day and run into 10 of your friends,
Yeah.
especially on a weekend. I mean, it was literally a destination spot. And then their presentations were always great. And that was something that why they can't get that back open, I'll never understand.
I mean, yeah, look, It was tough for all movie. Listen, a number of smaller movie theater chains got shut down during the pandemic. It's really tough to be a business that is predicated on people coming through your doors.
Yeah.
And then nobody could come through your doors. And like Arcite, especially being right in Hollywood, and that giant piece of property and having to pay the rents on it. And
but that huge entry section. I mean, the lobby
so
was like
gorgeous.
3 stories tall, and you walked in there and it's like, it was a magical place.
Yeah. You know what they made it feel like? It made it feel like you were going into a giant train station or an airport, because it was a destination. Like they gave you this sense of adventure from the moment you walked into the theater. It was, and again, they had that great rule: 3 trailers, then the movie.
Yep.
Done. And it was great. Anyway, guys, the question is for you. What do you think about this? AMC, not surprising, has reported lower revenue, lower attendance for the first quarter of 2025. I mean, a couple of factors are completely beyond their control. The economy's in a mess right now, so that's got people spending less money. There hasn't been the product out there, like big enough movies that have been good enough to really attract out enough people. That's beyond the movie theater's control. But there are things in their control. What do you think those things are? What can the movie theaters do without killing their own business that would improve their situation? Whatever you guys think about it, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.